J.W. Pepper is always looking out for stories about sheet music, since that is what we have been selling and helping musicians and teachers find for over 147 years. And we have a very special story to share with you today. Back in 2022, in celebration of his 80th birthday, and to find a way to leave a legacy of music, as he states, musician, composer, and arranger Bob Curnow graciously donated his entire catalog of sheet music to the Westchester University Wells School of Music. This is intended to be used for their jazz ensembles, including the Criterions, who are approaching their 100th year in existence, as well as being available to all the students that go there as study scores or to have access in any way while attending the university. If you're not familiar with Bob Curnow, he is the founder and owner of Sierra Music Publications, which is now in its 47th year of publishing. Many of the Sierra Music arrangements and original works are part of the J.W. Pepper Editor's Choice Library and are highly sought after and have been for years. Bob is also an amazing trombonist, spending years with the legendary Stan Kenton Orchestra. He has been a record producer and an A&R director as well for Kenton's Creative World Records, as well as serving as the director of the McDonald's Big Band, which has produced so many great jazz musicians. If you have a chance, definitely go look up that list because it is very impressive. Notably, in 1999, Bob was inducted into the Hall of Fame for the International Association of Jazz Educators, where he also served as a president. And this is one of the main reasons that Pepper wanted to feature this story and showcase the generosity of Bob donating his sheet music for use in education at Westchester University. He is a staple in the world of jazz education, and this gift will serve the students of Westchester University for years to come. The Wells School of Music created an in-depth video showcasing all the celebrations of Bob Curnow, who is an alumnus of the university and served as a student director of the Criterions. We have a link to that full video below in the description, which includes a great interview with Bob Curnow and Jonathan Raganese, the current director of jazz studies at the Wells School of Music. Now, J.W. Pepper has been given additional access to this interview footage, which includes a lot of great information on the start of Sierra Music Publications and a lot of Bob's insights into writing and composing. Sierra Music Publications has been a great purveyor of awesome jazz big band music for years, and you can get their music at J.W. Pepper in links that we provided below as well. Now, let's hear from Bob on how Sierra Music started. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of the videos that we have coming out in the future.
I'm interested to know why you started Sierra Music and how that came about.
Well, let me back up a little bit. We were living in Cleveland. I was teaching at Case Western Reserve University in the late 60s is when I started there. And somewhere along the line, about 3 or 4 years in, the band, the Kenton Band, and I hadn't seen Stan in I don't know what that would have been, 5, 6 years, 7 years, something like that. No, not even that long, 4 years or so. They came into town, so we hooked up and we talked, and we actually had them come out to our home in Cleveland Heights for an after-gig party. So that's when Stan and I hooked up together, and I don't know whether it was that time or a second time that the band came through and played at Severance Hall, that he asked if I would be interested in moving to California to help develop this new record company called Creative World Records, which Darlene and I said, sure, let's go for it, you know, what the heck.
Yeah.
So we moved to California in 1972. I was very good friends with a guy who was just beginning to start what was called Creative World Publications, Creative World Music Publications. He was a bass trombone player on Stan's band named Phil Herring. We locked up pretty well together, and we helped each other in our different business things because neither of us knew what the hell we were doing. You know, it was one of those things. We did, but it was good to have a friend to help. Doing all the writing I was doing for Stan at the time, being involved in the publications end of it in a fairly minor way, that when I left that business and went back to teaching and started teaching at Cal State LA, I realized that I had had 4 years of this intense, crazy business training, on the job training, and I didn't want it to go to waste. And I also knew that Stan's music was no longer available because it had been shuffled over to another company. So I started Sierra music with a couple of my original pieces, Writer's Cramp, which I wrote for the band here. That's right, I forgot about that. And a ballad that I had written. And we started with that. Had the office in the bedroom, the house, and started with $500 and never looked back. And then as we had some kind of presence and guys were out there teaching, saying, Bob, I need a third trombone part for Hank's Opener or for Malagania or something. Can you do that? I said, I can't do that, but I'm going to try to see if I can correct that. And that started out that way with trying to get an agreement with Stan's widow, which was no problem because she was a dear friend, Audrey Koch, her name was. And she then allowed us, it went from that to the next step that we could start publishing all the full band things.
Yeah.
And it just grew from there. It was just having grown up at a period of time when you were just desperate for music to play, and there just wasn't anything available, or very, very little. I knew that need was still there, and I thought maybe I could help.
You certainly filled the void.
Well, I hope so. A long answer to a short question.
Between the first gift and then this most recent gift, it's about 3,000 charts. That's what I understand from Jonathan Raganese. And to have that wealth of musical information at our fingertips has been amazing. And the first gift, for me as the percussion teacher, I had my student pull 60 charts out with the professional recordings, and I use that as a big band training materials for all of my students. So they're able to access these great charts, listen to pro drummers play, and develop their big band skills as part of their drum set lessons by having this repertoire. For our students, it's amazing for them to get to play these charts. It's amazing for our students as they're going out into the field, if they want to conduct a big band, to be able to look through the library and see what we have and learn about some of the great arrangers that are in that collection. So it's monumental for us.
I still am. I mean, every time I get a chance to look in there, but especially when I was trying to find stuff for the exhibit, I was so struck by the detail and the preciseness with which you cared for the materials of your life and career. Was that something that came naturally to you, or did you think about that when you were doing it? In terms of like preserving the photographs and the news clippings and
Yeah, I don't know. I think that started with my parents. There were some clippings and things from high school, and I think there's one in that case which I haven't looked at in 1,000 years. Just that keeping track of things. I don't know that I was ever as good at it as I wish I had been. There are many things that I wish I still had that I don't have, and I couldn't even begin to tell you what it is, but I wasn't really that good at it. But I think if I had been, there probably would have been 80 bucks.
I was going to say, Bob, because when I showed,
and nobody wants that.
When I showed Chris some of the stuff that I found in the one box, he was overwhelmed that somebody would have been able to keep all that way.
Yeah,
so it just came naturally.
Yeah, I guess.
And you wish you'd done it better.
Yeah.
Bob's gift to us was an incredible thing because not many schools get to have an entire catalog of a publisher, first of all, and especially a publisher whose music is so clear and valuable. So he made it one of his life missions to make sure he could collect the music that should be available to bands that was not previously available, written by the real composers and arrangers. So to be able to have all of that just encapsulated and at easy access is like one of the greatest educational tools I could have access to.
Also interested in how you got involved in music education in your professional career, because you had kind of a roundabout way. I mean, you of course taught at Case Western, but then later on, I know you did a lot of stuff with education.
Yeah, I came down here to this school. It was with some reluctance because I wanted to be a player. And I had the chance to go out with a Buddy Morrow band when I was in high school. Of course, my parents said, no way, you're going to college. So I graduated, got the chance to go on the road for a year, which was really what I wanted to do. I had come back here to the Villanova Jazz Festival the year after that to collect my goods from the things I had won the year before. I won a trombone, and I won that library about that long of Kenton LPs. So that's where they all came from.
Yeah.
I did that, and then one of the bands that was playing that year, that would have been early '64, I guess, at the festival, introduced himself, George West. He says, I'm leaving Michigan State, which was the band was, leaving the grad assistantship. Would you be interested in taking that and going to grad school? Well, I hadn't thought about that at all. I hadn't thought about anything. We had just gotten married and things were up in the air. My folks had moved to Michigan. My dad had taken a job as a banker in Flint, Michigan, so there was that attraction. Long story short, I ended up doing my grad work. The first job that came down the line when I was done with all my coursework was teaching. And there it was. That started it, 1967. And
But then you had a long period of time where you weren't teaching.
well,
Then you started getting involved with young people again.
yeah, I didn't teach for 4 years when I was working in California for Stan. Then went back to teaching at Cal State LA. We decided we were going to leave LA and move to the Northwest for the sake of our children and growing up and the environment and so on and so forth. And I had some opportunities, and I had just begun working with the McDonald's All-American High School Jazz Band at that time, which is, we could sit here and talk about that for 5 hours.
I understand.
All these players that came through that band. So there I was teaching that. I started with the band in 1980, and it blossomed into an amazing experience.
Yeah. You did that for how many years?
For 8 years.
Wow.
And then they decided to cut back and put all their money into double Dutch jump roping.
Interesting.
Any
So you
questions?
got yourself some jump ropes.
I think the one thing that's really exciting through this entire process is to have an alumni of his stature, Bob's stature, who while he was here running the band, gets asked to join the Kenton Band, becomes his lead arranger, starts Sierra Music, and has a storied career. And for our current students to be able to meet him and talk to him, and especially the members of the Kreitz when he was here in November, being able to be a part of the band that he's rehearsing, is pretty special. And I think that for our alumni to see that, it inspires them, it inspires me. For me, being a kid that grew up listening to the Kenton Band, I had no idea I would land here and get to meet somebody who was in the Kenton Band. One of my favorite drummers that I listened to and inspired me was Peter Erskine, who joined the band when he was 18. Really, it kind of ties it all together for me and comes full circle in my life and what I've done and my experiences, and being able to meet Bob and have him involved in the future education of our students. And it's really cool.
The main thing that I care about with Bob's gift is that I don't think he gave it to us to be archival material. I mean, I know he didn't. And because of getting to spend time with Bob and know what he's about and know his passion for music and his passion for education, his importance in the publishing field and in the composition field and in music education means that I want the gift that he gave us to actually further that passion that he has for it. So I guess what I really want is to make sure people are aware that it's here, and that I want to work with them that they can utilize it if they want to. So that's the main thing that I want to make sure I'm taking care of with the Bob and Darlene Curnow Jazz Library.
J.W. Pepper would like to thank Westchester University and the Wells School of Music, Dr. Hanning and Jonathan Raganese for providing us with this story and this content to be shared with you, as well as a very special thank you to Bob Curnow for all of his contributions to jazz education. Bob, being a graduate of Westchester University, really hammers home how great that School of Music is and the kinds of educators and musicians that come from there. Westchester University has produced thousands of music educators over the years, and J.W. Pepper has a commitment to all of those teachers to keep providing great quality educational sheet music so that you can do your jobs and teach the next generation of students. And this gift that Bob has provided the Wells School of Music is exactly the kind of thing that will keep jazz, music education, and more importantly, amazing music being created for years to come. We are so very excited to be able to share this with you today. Be sure to tell your friends all about it. Let us know in the comments below if you know of any other great sheet music stories that we can share. Or let us know on social media, wherever you are. We are always engaging with people there. If you did find this video helpful, please give us a thumbs up. Remember, links to Sierra Music Publications are in the description below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of the new content that we have coming out at J.W. Pepper.